Hello friends, this is Aarti Karnuke, Assistant Professor in Civil Engineering Department at Tulsiramji Gaikwad Patil College of Engineering and Technology, Nagpur, accredited with NAC A+ grade. So I welcome you all in my next lecture of building construction and material. So in this lecture we are going to deal with the types of lintel and arches. So let's start. As we all know that the lintel and arches are the essential components of wall. They are provided wherever necessary to support a wall over a opening. While constructing wall, it is necessary to provide openings for the doors, windows, cupboards, wardrobes, etc. The structural member used to bridge these openings are lintel and arches. So basically, a lintel is a structural member that act as a beam and transfer the load over it by flexural action to supporting wall. An arch is an invariably curved member that transfer the load over it mainly through thrust and the friction between its unit. So RCC arches are very large span are used for the bridges. So in this lecture we will discuss arches used in the buildings. So after studying these topics, you should able to understand the purpose of using lintel and arches in the building, distinguish between the lintel and arches. So let's start. So first is lintel. So very first term is the lintel. So in lintel we are going to discuss the introduction of it and classification of the lintels. So the lintels are provided over openings so that the frames of the door and window are not unduly loaded. The width of a lintel is the same as that of wall. Lintel transfer the load of by flexural action to the side wall. The end bearing for lintel should greater than the 100 mm and depth of the lintel and 1/12 of the span. So this is the lintel. This is the this horizontal structure member which is placed across the opening called as the lintel. So these are the structure of the lintel. So this is the lintel. This is the opening. And this is the blocks. So according to the material used, lintel may be classified into the following types: wood or a timber lintels, then stone lintel, then brick lintels, reinforced brick lintels, steel lintels, and reinforced RCC cement concrete lintel. So let us discuss it one by one. So first is the wood or a timber lintels. So basically these are the oldest type of lintels used nowadays. They are used only in the hilly regions where timber is easily available. Timber lintel may be a single piece or assembled by joining two to three pieces. Sometimes they are strengthened by steel plates at the top and the bottom. Such lintels are known as the fleece lintels. Hard and sound timber should be used for making lintels. So the timber lintels have some disadvantages like they are liable to decay, they are liable to destroy by fire, they are comparatively weak, they are costly. Next is the stone lintel. So basically stone beams are used as a lintel wherever stone are easily available. As stone are weak in tension, stone lintel can used only for a smaller span. Their depth is kept about 1/10 of the span. Dressing the stone to the required size and shape adds to the construction costs. Moreover, stone cannot resist vibration. Hence, stone lintel are not popular. They are used to span for a small opening in the low cost housing, usually in the region where the slit is available. So this is the figure of the stone lintel, as you can see. So next is the brick lintel. So well burned good bricks are laid on the edges to form a lintel. Brick lintel needs temporary formwork at the time of the construction. So the lintel is to be cured for the 1 to 2 weeks before the formwork can be removed. So the thickness of the brick lintel should be multiples of the number of the brick cores. Brick lintel are useful to the span for the small openings. So next is the reinforced brick lintel. So basically the reinforced brick lintels is usually provided for the large spans and the heavy loads. So these reinforced with the mild steel bar. So it is very common due to durability, strength and fire resistant properties. So next is the steel lintels. So basically steel ankles or a roll steel ice section may be used as a lintel. So they were used for a large opening before the concrete was invented. If more than one section is used, tubes separate are used to the maintaining the spacing between them. If the section are exposed to the atmosphere, they require regular painting. So they may be encased in the concrete to avoid the maintenance problem. Then the reinforced cement concrete lintels. So basically RCC lintels of any span can be provided in the building. They are provided with the steel reinforcement, the main reinforcement being on the lower side in the opening. So they need a shear reinforcement also. So basically there are three types of RCC lintel as well. Uh, Cut lintels, continuous lintels and lintels with the chhajja protection. So basically in cut lintels, they span a single. Then continuous lintel, they span a number of openings and usually run over the entire length of the wall. They connect the column in the frame structure. Such lintels provided excellent resistance to earthquake also. Then next is the lintel with the chhajja. Next is the lintel with the chhajja protection. So chhajja protection are connected to the lintels. These projection protect door and window frames from the direct contact of the sun and rain. So the next topic is arches. So an arches is a structure constructed with wedge-shaped bricks or a stone joined together with the mortar. So the loads tend to make the brick compact. We can call as a compressive load. So the loads gets transferred to the abutments, that is supports, as a thrust. So basically as you can see, these are the elements of the arch. So let us discuss one by one element of the arches. So the first technical term is abutment. So basically abutment is the end support of an arch is termed as the abutment. Next is the pier. These are the intermediate support of a row of arches. Next is the intrados. So this is the inner curve of an arch. Then extrados, this is the outer curve of an arch. Next is the vaser. So these are the wedge shape unit forming the courses of an arch. Next is the springing stone. So basically the springing stone or a springer is the first vaser at the springing point. Then springing line. So basically this is an imaginary line. So this is an imaginary line joining the two springing points of an arch. So springing point, the point from which the curve of an arch springs, is called as the springing point. Then crown, this is the highest point of the extrados, as you can see in the figure as well. Next is the keystone. So basically keystone is the wedge shape unit at the crown of an arch, as you can see in the figure also. Next is this skew back. So basically this is the inclined surface of the abutment from which this arch springs. Then span, this is the clear horizontal distance between the support. Then rise, this is the clear vertical distance between the highest point of the intrados and the springing line. Next is the depth of arch or height of the arch. So basically this is the perpendicular distance between the intrados and the extrados. Then the haunch of an arch. So basically haunch is the lower half. So basically haunch is the lower half of the arch between the crown and the skew back. After that, this spandrel. So basically spandrel is the space between the extrados and the horizontal line through the crown. So basically stability is an important feature of the arches. However, as the arch transfer the load to abutment by thrust, there are chances of a failure in the way of the following ways, like failure in the crushing of the masonry, sliding of the wasers, rotation of some joints about an edge, uneven settlement of the abutment. So first is the crushing of the masonry. So basically the material used in the arches should be of a good quality, otherwise there are chances of masonry being crushed under the loads. Wasser should be designed well transmit the load. The height of the wasser should not less than 1/12 of the span. Next is the sliding of the wasser. So basically, though the load transfer in the arches is mainly by the thrust, some shear is unavoidable. The shear force makes the unit slides one over the other. To prevent such failures, wasser of a sufficient height should be provided. Next is the rotation of some joint about an edge. So basically this type of failure can be prevented if the line of the resistance is within the intrados and extrados. So it is also necessary to ensure that the line of thrust crosses the joint away from the edge. So this should be within the middle 1/3 of the height of an arch. Then unevenness settlement of abutment or the pier. So basically abutment are subjected to compressive force and thrust which may cause settlement. To avoid settlement, we have to provide abutment should be strong enough. So uneven settlement is avoided if arches are symmetric. So next is the classification of the arches. So arches may be classified on the basis of the shape, number of center, material and workmanship. So let us discuss one by one. So Basically, these are the classification based on the material and workmanship. So, so on the basic of material and workmanship, arches are classified as brick arches, stone arches, and the gauge arches. So let us discuss it one by one. So first we will discuss the brick arches. So very first is the rough brick arches. So basically these are the built with the ordinary bricks. The wedges shape required in the arch is achieved by varying the thickness of the mortar. So these arches are normally built in half spring rings to limit the width of the variation in joint. As the appearance of such arches is not good, the surface are usually placed, as you can see in the figure also. Next is the X brick arch. So these type of arch, the bricks are eggs to the gate of wedge shape. Hence the thickness of the joints are uniform. You can see in the figure also how X brick arches look. So this type of brick also not give the much attractive appearance. Next is the gauge brick arch. So basically, in this type of arch brick are prepared to the exact size and shape required. So they are cut by means of wire saw and the filled neatly. In case of the joints are uniform and hence appearance is good. So we can provide the gauge brick arch. So what are the purpose made for brick arch? So basically this type of arch is made with the brick manufacture for the purpose of arches. Lime putty is used for the joining in the bricks. So next is the stone arches. So in the stone arches, very first is the rubble arches. So basically these are built with the roughly traced stone and the cement mortar is used in this type of masonry. So they can span up to the 1 meter. The arch may be in one ring or two ring. Rubble arches are used for the inferior works. Next is the ashlar arches. So basically this type of arches are used for the superior works. They are built with the stone block dressed to proper shape of visor. To determine the shape of visor, the arches are set on the horizontal platform and the shape of visor are marked. So basically ashlar stone arches are built as a flat arches in the which joints are rebuilt, as you can see in the figure also. So next is the precast concrete block arches. So basically these type of arches specially mold are used to manufacture concrete blocks to get the exact shape and size of the visor. So these arches are good in appearance, but it's costly actually. So they are relatively economical if a number of similar arches are to be built. So next is the monolithic concrete arches. So basically plain concrete or a reinforced concrete arches may be cast in situ where the suitable formwork is prepared and the concrete is poured into the formwork. So the formwork may be removed after 2 weeks, but the curing should be continued for 4 weeks. Larger span can be covered by the concrete arches. So next is the on the basis of shape, arches are classified. So according to the shape, arches are classified as a flat arch, segmental arch, semicircular arch, relieving arch, and Dutch or French arch. So let us discuss it one by one. So very first is the flat arch. So basically these arches are apparently flat. So these arches are apparently flat. However, intrados is given a slight rise of a camber about to 15 to 10 mm per meter length to allow a small settlement. Extrados is flat. The angle made by skew is 60 degree. Such arches are suitable only for light loads and the span up to the 1.5 meter, as you can see in the figure. So next is the segmental arch. So in the segment of arch with the center below the springing is commonly used in the building. Thrust of the arch in case of is transferred to the support in the inclined direction. And this segmental arch is provided over the lintel. Then the semicircular arch, so such arches transfer the load to the abutment in the vertical direction. The center of the arch lies on the springing line. So these are the semicircular arch, as you can see in the figure. You might be see this type of arches in the temple. Then the relieving arches, so basically these arches are provided over a flat arches or a joist to relieve the load on them. So when the wooden lintel is provided over a wider opening, a brick relieving arch is constructed over the lintel. So next is the Dutch or French arch. So basically this is similar to the flat arch in design, but they differ in the shape and the method of the construction. So basically this type of arches is suitable for the small openings. So arches may be classified according to the number of the center as follows. So basically 1 center arch, 2 center arch, 3 center arch, 4 center arch and 5 center arch. So let us discuss it one by one. So first is the 1 center arch. So basically flat arch, segmental arch, semicircular arch, horseshoe arch and steel arches are 1 center arches. Sometimes bullseye arches are used for the circular windows provided due to the aesthetic consideration. So you can see in the figure as well, 1 center arch. Next is the 2 center arch. So basically point arch and semi-elliptical arch are the 2 center arches. Then the 3 center arch. Elliptical arches comes under the category of the 3 center arch. You can see in the figure O1, O2 and O3 are the center. So this is in the category of 3 center arch. Then the 4 center arch. So basically Venetian arch and the Tudor arch have the 4 centers. So basically this is look like this, as you can see in the figure how it look like this. Then the last is the 5 center arch. So basically the 5 center arch looks like a semi-elliptical arch. So this is all about the lintel and arches. In next class we will going to discuss about the dampness. So thank you.